everyone. I'm John Evans, and welcome to another episode of One-on-One. Kirk Englebright did not plan on going into the TV and film business. He was in a completely different industry, selling mattresses and doing very well at it too. A deal he made in 2019, though, went bust, in part because of COVID. Then he got a phone call that he thought was about greeting cards. Well, it became a business opportunity that now, more than 6 years later, has him heading up Wilmington's newest studio for filmmakers. Kirk Englebright, President and CEO of Dark Horse Stages in Wilmington. Welcome to the One-on-One with John Evans podcast, young man. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You did not get into the movie and television production business the way many people do, starting to work and growing up and growing through it. You got in it a little different way. How did it all come about?
Very unplanned. It started off 2019. My business partner and I purchased a campus right here in Wilmington, which is the heart of film for North Carolina.
Yeah.
We purchased a campus with sights set on putting some long-term tenants in it and turn it into a campus for a large employer here in Wilmington, New Hanover County. Things pivoted quickly. Fast forward 2020, January, February, March, that lovely thing called COVID reared its head.
Yeah.
The deal went bust.
Oh.
So we were at idle. Here we are. We're 2020, March, April, May, trying to figure out what we're going to do with the campus. What are we going to pivot to? We set it idle for a couple months, and interesting. I like to say Hollywood called me.
Yeah.
In the midst of COVID, when states are shut down, the phones were not ringing, and our first call was actually Hallmark.
Yeah.
So, with someone not with a background in film and entertainment, I'm thinking they're either looking for the space for distribution, for cards.
Parking their trucks, maybe?
Yeah, I really wasn't expecting them to say, no, actually, we're looking to do a movie, a made-for-TV movie. And that movie turned out to be USS Christmas.
Right.
We were happy to shake hands, put a deal together. We thought it was a one-off play. Give it a fast forward a few weeks. Phone was ringing once or twice a week with a few other productions. Didn't think too much of it. The short version of this, 3 years later, we have not had one day of vacancy. Throughout COVID, we realized we've kind of walked into an opportunity here. We realized real quickly that we're in an environment and a state that has a healthy incentive. We have world-class crew base right here in our backyard. And we're in a position where there's not 20 and 30, 40 other studios we're competing against. We're not in LA, we're not in New York, we're not in Atlanta, we're in good old Wilmington.
Yeah.
So we realized pretty quickly on that it's worth making an endeavor and trying to fly all over the country and figure out what does a modern studio look like if we were going to make the investment. So we spent time in LA, we spent time in Atlanta, we flew all over New York. We traveled the country trying to figure out what does a modern infrastructure for a modern studio look like.
Right.
Spent a lot of time in Atlanta because Atlanta has a lot of modern infrastructure. And about 2.5, 3 years into it was when we made the big decision to let's go all in. We didn't just tippy-toe and get our feet wet. We swan dove in.
Yeah. Take me back to that phone call, because you said you bought it, and you bought it off a Coastal Beverage, if I'm not mistaken.
Coastal Beverage.
So it was basically a storage place, distribution place. You're looking for do something, storage, business, whatever it is. What was that phone call like? I mean, was it like, it must be a wrong number, and click, or did you actually pick up the call?
I definitely thought it was a one-off. I didn't expect it to turn into a major investment, which we've made, my business partner and I, and convert, which was ultimately a distribution center, into a modern-day North Carolina's actually modern studio for film and TV.
Yeah.
The call was a bit of a surprise after about 5 minutes of figured out are they looking to do distribution or manufacturing? Manufacture cards or distribute cards? And after, you understand the dynamics of, no, we're looking to film a movie in here. And we're asking questions, what does that look like? How many people? What do you need? We're going to have 400 people on the campus. We need X amount of parking, X amount of office space, X amount of flex space to shoot this, create sets on. Within 4 months, we had another production in. Within 12 months, we had hosted 4 productions, significant productions. Again, by month 18, we're flying all around wondering, is this a viable option to invest in? And after doing research and just listening to our crew base, I realized we got some pretty special people and talented people right here working in film.
Yeah.
And North Carolina has 40 plus years of filmmaking history. I mean, we're a legacy for it. So we figured if we're going to do it, and we definitely scouted other markets at this point. Once we got our feet wet, realized this is fun, this is interesting, could be an opportunity to create a lot of jobs, really affect the economy, and at the same time, hopefully make a living. So it turned out it was a good play. We're still in full evolution mode. We're constantly adapting, creating, learning every day. From the outside prospect in, it looks like this was a quick move for us. We've been at it for 5.5, 6 years now.
Yeah.
So for us, we've been at a snail pace. It's just public for the last few years.
What was the toughest of all the lessons? You flew to New York, you flew to LA, you flew to Atlanta. Was there a tough lesson that, I'm not going to do that again along the way?
Well, I can tell you, from someone with no background in the studio space in film, I had a lot of questions walking into it. From a consumer from the outside of the studio looking at the studio, it looks like a square box. But it's everything but a square box.
Yeah.
It's a lot of technology inside these buildings. Everything from the walls to the ceilings to the fiber optics that are brought into the dailies room. It is so much involved. So, the biggest thing probably was asking questions and asking our crew base locally here because, for 40 years, North Carolina's had one studio to call home. So our crew base had a lot of opinions on how I should do it, do's and don'ts, and
right.
And then I spend time in New York and LA and Atlanta, and they go about things a little bit different as well. So for every question I had 10 different answers. So it's really deciding, okay, which way do I pivot? Which way do I go?
Right.
Because there's a million ways to do this and create this. And we're still in that evolution of figuring it out.
Yeah, you're compared to the industry and compared to the history.
I'm a rookie.
You're still making baby steps here at that point.
Yeah.
You had George and Tammy, you had Florida Man come in. You're a business guy. You're looking at profits and margins and everything else like that. Was it tough maybe not to be as profitable as you thought it was going to be like this? Or was that a lesson you had to learn, that it's going to take a little bit? Because when you built your first business, it rolled.
I was very.
Was it a different way?
I was very fortunate very early on with business. Walking to the studio side of things, I knew it was going to be a longer play. I didn't know it was going to be this long of a play. and I didn't realize the political aspect of this industry, how much of a factor that plays into it. At the end of the day, you can build, and this has been written up in every publication and on every media outlet around, but you can build the most world-class infrastructure. We can have world-class crew base. We can have everything to create the most cinematic, perfect shows and films on earth. But without incentives, it's hard to recruit projects. Mm-hmm. So I spent a considerable amount of time in LA, first off, figuring out, are they going to keep coming if we build it? It was almost a field of dreams. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
And the answer is they will definitely come, but there's other components that will help get them here. One is a state incentive that is competitive, because what we've seen over the last decade is other competing states, our neighbor states, are also getting on the bandwagon, seeing the opportunity and seeing what film does economically to not just the large corporations, to the brick and mortar mom and pops. George and Tammy, a prime example, there was close to 1,500 people on payroll.
Wow.
Well, that's a lot of rental cars people got to fly in and rent cars. There's a lot of Airbnbs. It's a lot of hotels. That's a lot of breakfast, lunch, and dinners all around town. And, and we do a really good job of promoting shop local when these productions come in. So just seeing the dynamic of what it does to the economy, it's pretty mind-boggling. I mean, I've been in business for 20-plus years, and I've never seen an industry that when they roll into town, what it does, how it shifts the economy, and how it's a ripple effect, and we all feel it, the benefits of it. It's just not a studio play. It's it's a big play.
Yeah.
Everything that you do at home, when you're 6 months on a project here with us, you got to do it here. You got to go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
You're going to go to breakfast, lunch, dinner. You're going to go to the pharmacy. You're going to go to the MedX or everything. It just becomes home for 6 months. So it's a massive injection of capital on an economic standpoint.
You moved forward, and I'm going to get into the incentives in a little while. You moved forward and you expanded in 2024. What gave you the notion or the idea that it's time for us to grow? Was it a phone call? Was it a project that came in and you just didn't have the room? What made you make that?
There were several, I could go through several bullet points that played factors in helping elevate that to the point where we're at the point where we're going to make the investment. Because it was a sizable investment to get this off the ground. There's a reason, and I've spoke to Johnny Griffin in depth about this, and from the early days on. There's a lot of people that say I'm going to build a studio, that plans on building a studio. What I recognized very early on is it's not easy. The first part is it is a very capital-intensive endeavor, and it's a very risky endeavor. So, you go into, whether it's your local bank or go to investors or however you're raising capital to get this off the ground, it's a challenge. We're very fortunate. My business partner and I, he has very strong relations. He is a substantial investor in making this a reality. It just so happens to be that we're all benefiting from it. So I don't think it was just one thing. It was just a combination of a lot of plays that led into it.
You grew up in Oxford, North Carolina, outside of Durham.
Outside of Durham.
Mom and Dad have any ties at all to the industry?
Could not be farther from it.
What did they do?
Rural Oxford, North Carolina. Grew up on a farm, 100-acre farm. Father worked in pharmaceuticals. Mom worked in finance at Revlon, one of the larger employers in Granville County, Oxford, North Carolina.
Sure.
But I was fortunate early on that when business started taking off for me in my early 20s, when I made the leap to move to Wilmington, within about 5 or 6 years, I decided to take the whole family with me. So let's just say they left their careers early and came down and joined the family business.
What did a young Kirk want to do as a kid? When he went to high school, when he was thinking about a career, some guys want to be doctors or whatever it is. What did Kirk want to do when he was in high school and he was looking at college?
Young Kirk wanted to play football. That's it, nothing else. Young Kirk wanted to play for the Redskins. Sorry, not Redskins anymore. Washington. But, life and everything else changed that play and, things pivoted, and I decided to go back to school for nursing. During nursing, I got involved in working in communications environment, not on the entertainment side of communications, but more or less fiber optics and infrastructure.
Right.
And I was fortunate to land a very sizable contract in my early 20s that basically helped fund another business endeavor, which is the furniture and bedding industry.
Right.
That I'm still currently involved in. So it's been a roller coaster, and I'm still a work in progress at everything. It's just certain things seem to get a lot of spotlight than others.
Sure. You visited Wilmington many times as a kid? You guys used to come down to the beach?
Yeah.
So Wilmington was in your future as well?
Well, as a kid, we did summer vacations. 1 week every summer, beach. And I was just drawn to it as an early age. I used to love the beach. Come down here with the family, spend a week, and just eat sandwiches, play in the sand, play in the water. And I always said, if it ever works out, and financially, if I'm in a place where I can make this work, I'm going to call Wilmington home. Within a few short years of business, I was able to make that move. I moved my corporate office from Raleigh-Durham to Wilmington. Mm-hmm. I want to say 2007, 8-ish.
Right.
And haven't looked back.
And that's after you founded Mattress Capital, right?
That's correct.
Where did you see the need for competition in the industry? What gave you the idea to go into that industry and then, found your own company?
Well, again, by chance. It wasn't exactly a strategic play.
Okay.
Listen, it's an industry where we all have to sleep, okay? Whether you're sleeping on a $400 bed or a $14,000 premium product, you're going to sleep, whether you're a college kid or an executive on Wall Street. It was a product that I got into early enough that the competition, there was no big players in the game at that point. Mm-hmm. Mattress Firm was my biggest competitor. Since then, they went public on the NASDAQ. Grew to a massive size, 3,700 plus stores, and they've had their headwinds as well. Filed bankruptcy, regrouped, repositioned. But it was just I found out early on. I invested in one store, and that one store in the last 20 years, I've opened 67 stores.
Yeah.
So some worked, some didn't. I think my whole life. I swing for home runs, and some of them work and some of them don't.
Were you going to be the mattress king of Wilmington, though? I mean, when you came down here, if you're going to look out Kirk's windshield of Kirk's career car, was that your goal?
Yeah, no one's going to beat me. You're going to knock me down, but I'm going to get back up.
Is that what you live by?
Yeah, listen, I spent time coming down here and figuring out this market before I decided to make it home and expand into this market. But I knew what I was coming up against. I knew the competition here, and I felt that, it's the old saying, it's three people in the woods, and a grizzly bear takes off after us. I don't have to be the fastest. I just can't be the slowest.
Right.
I knew what I was up against, and I felt good that I could not only compete, that I could probably excel at it.
You bought your competition. Mattress Capital continues to be, and is even today, very popular. Did anybody try to talk you out of that purchase on Market Street of that distribution building? I mean, it's turned out to be, just awesome for you, the area and for you, but were there any naysayers like, oh, dude, come on?
I think my whole life I've had nothing but naysayers. Even at the early days with the bedding business, I took a sizable amount of money, and I remember getting into the business, and I was called every name, crazy, fool. It's not feasible. I've been pretty good at proving most of them wrong. Quite often I've failed face forward, but I always seem to land on my feet or get back up.
And it seems like, obviously, it worked. As more productions came into Dark Horse, were there any moments where you had that, ooh, hey, there's so-and-so, or were you starstruck by anybody as those first productions came in? Not so much, but I definitely realized the opportunity that was there when we landed George and Tammy. Because when we landed George and Tammy, hey, that was a large production to get in North Carolina. They spent a large amount of money here. Very close to $100 million. And they had some real talent on that show. Jessica Chastain, right,
which was on fire.
Yeah.
Michael Shannon, amongst many others. I definitely had a moment at the studio having conversations with Jessica and Michael Shannon, realizing, is this really going on? Are we really, this is what we're doing?
Yeah.
So yeah, I've had some of those surreal moments, but at the end of the day, it feels good that, I mean, my studio is my backyard now. I spend more time at my studio than I do my house. So it feels good for them to come in and call my studio home for 6 months.
Sure.
It lets us know that we're doing something right.
When you made the jump, it was TV and film, but last year you had a YouTuber who was huge, MrBeast, come in. Was that a different lesson for you, watching him do what he does? Because that's really, in many ways, where entertainment is going.
Totally. I had a lot of people against what I was doing with that.
Why was that? Why was that?
I guess, a lot of people thought that was affecting jobs, whether it's union or not, non-union. We're built for film and TV, our studio. Not many YouTubers are on his level in that magnitude. There's one Elon Musk, and there's one Mark Zuckerberg, and there's one Jimmy Donaldson, MrBeast.
Yeah.
You can't deny he's got the secret sauce. Numbers tell all, and he's got the numbers to back it up and support it.
Yeah. He
has the attention of every studio and network in LA, ready to do business any day. On a given post, he gets more views than the Super Bowl. That's what it's all about, is viewership. Mm-hmm. MrBeast gets them. When we did a deal with the Beast team, Jimmy and his team, and with Amazon to bring them in to collaborate on some of the stuff, whether it's his YouTube channel or Beast Games. But seeing how they operate versus TV and film, which is what we've been used to for the last 5 years,
sure,
it was very interesting to be a part of it. As you said, that is kind of the trajectory to some extent of where entertainment's going. Mm-hmm.
But they still need studios in order to film it.
When you have his bankroll, you do, and when you're producing his kind of product and his content, you need a purpose-built studio. Mm-hmm. You need infrastructure to get that done.
And was that a big deal? Did you get more calls after that became public?
Yeah, that got a lot of attention for Dark Horse. That really drew a lot of attention from LA, more than we anticipated, by having Beast there. It definitely created more future opportunities, which I can't speak on right now.
No, understand.
That we may see possible in the works as things progress on in 2026. Jimmy, MrBeast is a North Carolina native as well.
Yeah,
Greenville, North Carolina, just a few hours away. And he's made sizable investments in Greenville as well at his own studio. But, his studio is designed and developed for his content versus we're bringing in content, from New York, L.A., or outside parts.
Don't talk much about your family. How important is Macy to your success? She's with you at the studio, obviously, your wife. How important is it? Does she that backbone? If she's like my wife, I married a saint. I don't know about you. I wouldn't be nearly as successful as I am if it's not for my wife. How about Macy and you? There's
no Dark Horse without Macy. I mean, it's the true definition of what we are. She is my biggest cheerleader, no matter what I do. Just before I came in here and we got on the air, I mean, she's cheerleading me on. The text. She's a rock star. None of this is real, or would I even probably have the courage or even want to take the chance on such a risky endeavor without her being back there just cheerleading.
We should have brought her on here with you.
She's a rock star.
2025, not the best year for business in the film industry in North Carolina. Johnny Griffin estimates it'd be about 1/6 of 2024, which was about $201 million. What shape is the business in this town and in this state, in your eyes?
This town and this state is in the same condition it is in Atlanta, L.A., domestically throughout the country. what we're going through, it is felt on U.S. soil in the film and TV arena. A lot of TV and film post-COVID are going overseas. Canada is a powerhouse right now. The currency exchange alone is playing factors. And then you topple that off with healthy incentives. Australia, UK, they're all doing sizable business, and they're taking it from us. Projects don't leave LA to come to North Carolina or to Georgia or to other states because they love us. They come here because we have world-class crew base, we have modern infrastructure, and we have a healthy incentive. So we had all the components to make it work. What has happened post-COVID is these other countries have kind of gotten on the bandwagon and really enhanced their position of what their offerings are to get it off U.S. soil. And it's worked, and we felt it firsthand really in 2024, 25 substantially, and we're still feeling it today, which leads to CAP, Coalition for Film and TV. What it is it's a coalition that we're putting together to basically go to Capitol Hill and help fight to get film back on U.S. soil. We need, at this point, federal assistance. There's states out there that are very competitive with their incentive. Atlanta has a very healthy incentive. New Mexico has a healthy incentive. We have an incentive, but what we're seeing firsthand is that's not getting it done. What we're hoping for and what we're fighting for is to band together and to have a voice on Capitol Hill where we need federal support. And that would come in the form of an incentive.
North Carolina has quite the history, the heydays here. Of course, you remember them, Iron Man 3 filmed here, the Hunger Games. And that's before lawmakers, most of them from the Charlotte area, who were tired of the money coming down to the coast, cut back on the incentive. Tom Tillis, the senator, then speaker, has told me that's one vote that he wishes he had back, was to vote to cut the film incentive. Has Georgia kind of taken over the Southeast market because of their incentive? Will we ever get the big blockbusters back here?
I'm hopeful. Right now, we have not got a state budget in a couple years. I, as well as probably everyone in this industry, we're all very hopeful that we'll get a budget passed this short session coming up. We're also very optimistic that we'll get our incentive enhanced, our grant system for film and TV. I'm a board member on the film commission, and, we have lobbyists, Tom Fetzer, that helps us out, and Tom has strong ties. And if there's anyone that can help get this done, we got the right guy. And then we got Michael Lee, a champion for film. We got everything to hopefully get it done. And we're hopeful that we're going to see it happen this session. And if it does happen, it's just going to make us that much more enticing. It's going to up the ante for us. It's going to up our incentives for film, up our incentives for TV, up our incentives for talent. That's the big misconception. People think that the money goes back to the stars. That is a total misconception. The money does not go to the stars. The money goes to the production. When you turn your TV on and you watch a blockbuster, you see 2 or 3 stars. What you don't see are the 1,500 people employed to get that to the TV.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to get done. We're trying to get the jobs back because it offers significant job creation. And these aren't 1099 contract jobs. These are union, well-paying wages that support families here and throughout all of North Carolina. People think that film is just in Wilmington. Film is shot in 76 out of the 100 counties in North Carolina over the past 10 years. It's a statewide band. We all feel the ripple. It just so happens to be that we have purpose-built infrastructure in Wilmington.
Right.
But tons of film happens all over the state. It's just when they need studio space, they come to us.
If the grant program is not enhanced, can the industry continue with the current program?
We're certainly going to find out the hard way. We got two plays here. We're working on a state level to enhance our incentive, and then we're very optimistically challenging in going forward to Capitol Hill in Washington with CAP to push for the feds to offer federal incentive on top of the state incentive. Between the two, I think we would be a powerhouse. And I think me, along with many others, feel very good about if that happens, then we're very well positioned. I think what we'll see if that does happen is you'll probably see more Kirk Englebright and Rodney Longs coming to town, investing substantial money in infrastructure, build more studios, which is creating more jobs.
Right.
Doing more business with lumber yards. It's just such a ripple effect. Just going back to a conversation.
Right.
You ever watched your favorite show or movie? You have a good scene. Maybe they're in the bedroom. There's furniture in that bedroom, right?
Yeah.
Where do you think they get the furniture at? They buy it locally.
Right.
You have an office scene. Like you and I are sitting right now, a studio. If they do a studio scene, you got to buy the furniture somewhere.
Right.
All the way down to George and Timmy. When we shot George and Timmy, everything was so specific that it had to be on camera. Every business in town, I feel like, got some sort of benefit off that deal. Whether you're an antique shop, all the way down from Home Depot down to the stores that don't even have brick and mortar, saw the benefits of it.
And I think, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think that that's one of the things that lawmakers at the time they voted to curtail the incentive program in North Carolina. I don't think they realized that. I think they looked at, wow, Iron Man got so-and-so million, Hunger Games got so-and-so million. That's going to Wilmington? No. It's got to stay here. Yeah. And I think proving that and telling people and selling what you just told me will open some eyes, hopefully anyway.
I'm hopeful. Again, I think I'm hopeful along with many others. We've had lawmakers at the studio. We always invite them with open arms. We want to show them where we're making investments. We want to show them what it's creating, not just on the studio lot, but throughout the whole state, the value. What other business will come in and spend $100 million, come in with a suitcase, and leave in 6 months with a suitcase, but leave $100 million on the table? Not many industries. Film does.
Yeah.
They're not in the business of assets. If the budget's at X, they're going to spend X.
Yeah.
So it's a rare industry. The job creation and how it operates. Listen, I'm still learning every day because my experience in business in the last 20 years could not be any more shooken up than getting into the film industry, because it's a whole different world how they operate.
Sure. Yeah. What's ahead? As you look, if you're looking at that windshield of Kirk's car, what's ahead? 26, 27, 30, 35?
Well, I can tell you 26, a big push for incentives. Obviously, like I just mentioned, state incentive, we're very optimistic. Michael Lee's going to help get it done.
What about projects? Can you share? I mean, I know sometimes they're kind of on the QT, but can you share whether any big projects are talking to you about coming in?
There's a few projects that we're having conversations with. I would like to share that there are a handful of them. It's a lot more bleak than we wanted it to be. There's a few sizable shows that we're in conversations with. When I leave your studio, I'm headed back to my studio, and we're jumping on a big call. And we're fighting to do our best to get a project brought here on a feature film that we've been working on for months.
Without giving anything away, can you share what those conversations are like? Is it like, what do you need? Here's what I have. Are you almost bidding for projects, or the people say, here, I need this, can you give me this? Again, without you having to give everything away you don't want to give away.
Sure. I mean, it's a competitive industry. There's studios all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
there are states that have incentives and there are states that do not have incentives. And every state's incentive, it could be drafted and drawn a little differently. They can have caps here, or they can have limits there, most of our conversations with the execs when we're doing our best to bring projects to North Carolina, we're not sending a man to the moon. It's not rocket science here. It's, when are you looking at shooting? What's your budget? These are generic questions. But the other thing, what's it going to take to get you to North Carolina? What are you looking for?
Okay.
What can we do to make you call North Carolina home for the next 6 months or 8 months or 10 years if it's the right project,
right?
And the show gets, if it's TV and it's picked up. Look at One Tree Hill.
One Tree Hill, Dawson's Creek have been here. People still come back here in town for One Tree Hill convention.
Yeah, amongst plenty others. We're always hoping that we got the next big show coming. We've had some conversations. I've had some big conversations with some large shows that dominate TV right now on streaming that we all know. I can't share. If we can get these incentives to where we need them, then we're going to be very well positioned.
As the president and CEO of Dark Horse Stages, you are a bulldog for the industry in this state. I've come to know that here in the 35 minutes that we've been talking together. I know you're a busy guy. I appreciate you taking some time and coming in our studio and joining me for the One-on-One with John Evans podcast. Thanks, man. It's been a real pleasure getting to know you.
John, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
A big thank you to Kirk Englebright for taking time from his busy schedule to join us for this week's podcast interview. You can learn more about his studios here in Wilmington by logging on to darkhorsestages.com. Now, before we go, I'd like to ask you a favor. Please follow or subscribe to the One-on-One with John Evans podcast on whatever app you use to listen to your favorite shows. And if you'd like to see a video version of this podcast interview, just head over to my YouTube channel. It's John Evans TV. I'm John Evans. Thanks so much for being here and joining us for this episode of One-on-One.